It's that time of week, my favorite time of week. Getting fired up with Cole Cubelic. He always smiles at me, a little smirk alert from him. Cole, got to ask you, man. Auburn knocks off the #1 team in the country. They lose to Clemson. Everybody wants to write them off. Their offense is sputtering. Is Auburn just that good, or is Georgia just that bad?
I think it could be a little bit of both. I really don't believe that Georgia is as bad as they played Saturday afternoon. I think that's a team that has some deficiencies. I think Auburn did a good job finding some of those, taking advantage of those, and I think some of Auburn's strengths really lined up against some of the areas of concern that Georgia has. They were able to protect Jarrett Stidham. He was able to hit some balls down the field. That's an area that you've seen some other teams take advantage of that Georgia defense, and when you have the run game to balance that out, it's very difficult to defend. You have to make a decision one way or the other. I think Auburn's defensive line proved to me that they are in the discussion as the best defensive line in college football. I mean, they absolutely dominated an offensive line that has played good football for Georgia. They're not overly talented. They're not a bunch of five-star guys, a bunch of future first and second-round NFL draft picks, but they've played good football all season. They really bottled up that run game, and I think if Jim Chaney could go back, he would have tried to do some things through the air a little bit earlier, but they couldn't protect when they did. But quick distribution, run-pass options are something that I think Georgia would have liked to have done a little bit earlier. Couldn't find a way to make it work. When Auburn turns you one-dimensional, they have guys who can win one-on-ones up front. And ultimately, that was the end of Georgia Saturday.
Okay, is this Auburn team one of the most dangerous teams in college football right now?
Yeah, I think so, because when you have a defense that can keep you in every game, you can win every game. And this is a defense that matches up well with anybody that they play. I think guys like Marlon Davidson and Carlton Davis are individuals we don't really talk about this year, but are having really good seasons. Carlton Davis is having an excellent season for this Auburn defense. Now, we know Derek Brown's been dominant. I thought Dontavius Russell played his best game as an Auburn Tiger. The linebackers are getting a lot of credit. But really, there's a lot of other guys outside of, say, just Jeff Holland and Derek Brown on that defense that are playing really good football. And Kevin Steele just has a feel for this group. They are just on the same page. He understands how to devise a plan, how to communicate it, more importantly, to his guys, and they know how to go out and execute it. So when you have a defense that can limit any opponent that you play, I think you are a very dangerous football team. And Auburn's offense is built to score points, so that's a good match if you're getting hot going down the stretch.
Got to drop that steel curtain. Okay, so what do you say to all the naysayers? Obviously, they lose to Clemson. They let off the gas against LSU. A lot of people want to write Auburn off. This team, not a top 10 team in the country.
Well, they've bounced back. Yeah, you could have written them off, but I think they've bounced back.
But I mean, a lot of people did, right? I mean, a lot of people in the media did. And
yeah, for good reason? Yeah, for good reason. I mean, you go to Clemson, you give up 11 sacks. You don't look good, but you still have an opportunity to be in that game late, and really there were some chances to give yourself the opportunity to win that game on the road. Clemson's still a top 5 football team in the country. Losing there is not going to be frowned upon by many people. The LSU game, I think the players, the kids, get a little bit of a reprieve from the media for that game, because I think most people who are informed about football put that game on the coaches. Mm-hmm. They don't put it on execution. They don't put it on effort. They don't put it on talent. They put it on, you switched up your game plan, and because you did that, you didn't allow yourself the opportunity to give those kids a chance to go out and play themselves into a win on the road against a team that you haven't defeated there since 1999. So that was a big mental hurdle. That was a big obstacle. Auburn wasn't able to overcome it. 2 quality road losses for this Auburn football team, and some of the wins that they've been able to rack up here late. The A&M win on the road was a nice win. The Georgia win was a huge win. And I can't tell you the last college football team that beat 2 different #1 teams in a 3-week span. I don't know if it's ever happened. I haven't seen anybody talk about it. I know the college football playoff poll has only been around for a couple of years, but even the AP poll, you don't see a team beat #1 and then get to play a different #1 team 2 weeks later. If Auburn's able to overcome Alabama and get a win there, I think that changes the dynamic completely.
Okay, so looking at that dynamic, I know everybody wants to talk about the Iron Bowl. Of course, these players, the coaches trying to reel them in, focus on what's ahead of them right now. But when you pit these 2 teams together, can Auburn dominate this Alabama team? Can they beat this Alabama team? Do they have a chance?
Beat or dominate?
Let's go beat.
They can beat Alabama, absolutely. Dominate, I'm not overly confident in saying that. But again, I'll go back to the defense. Alabama's offensive line has played consistent, good football the entire season. But this Auburn defensive line is one, and the structure of this defense is one that I feel can give them problems. This team has been overly reliant on not just the run game, but the legs of their quarterback. And I think if you can limit Jalen Hurts on the ground and force them to win the game through the air, the weapons are limited. They had a couple guys step up late in that game against Mississippi State on the road. But we haven't seen that team really be put in many bad situations this year. I mean, the A&M game a little bit. Mississippi State, yeah, that was a bad spot to be in late on the road, a loud, raucous environment. They overcame that, proved a lot. Be on the road again against Auburn, against a defense that I feel like matches up really well because Auburn's corners can cover. And Kevin Steele is not afraid to leave them alone. Trey Matthews is a safety that plays well down in the box. They'll have extra defenders. And the thing about Auburn's defense that I like match up with Alabama is they can play big. So Marlon Davidson is not your prototypical defensive end. I mean, he's a defensive tackle who's playing out wide. You have big physical linebackers like Darrell Williams who come in and can play. I mean, all of a sudden, you're basically playing a short yardage goal line personnel in your every down personnel if you're Auburn. So I think that's a good starting point for that defense to be able to stymie Alabama's run game. And with the injuries that have hit Alabama at the linebacker position with play action and RPO and some of the quick ball distribution, especially some of the screens out wide, if you can find some of those defenders out of place or missing tackles, those turn into explosive plays.
Okay, Cole Cubelic, I want your opinion on this. Gus Malzahn does a CBS interview after the game. He's about to come over to me, do a quick interview for ESPN. Question for you. Did you hear his comments?
No.
His comments were, well, we kicked the dog crap out of him. Am I allowed to say that on camera? Guess so. What do you make of that? Gus Malzahn showing some emotion after the football game.
It's great. I think it shows that he's into this team. He believes in this team. He's opened up a little bit more. He's comfortable. And when Gus Malzahn is comfortable, I think he is a better head coach. I think his players relate to him a little bit more. And maybe that's also a sign of the confidence that he has in this football team.
All right, awesome. Fired up with Cole Cubelic. We'll see ya.